What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back. In today's video we are checking out a brand new bike from Fiido. The one that we have here today, it's called the Fedu C11 and this is more of an urban bike than anything else. So a bike that you would ride in the city. Now this is also one of the most affordable e-bikes that I got to try up until now, and funny enough this is one of the better e-bikes that I got to try up until now, even though it is one of the cheapest ones out there. So this bike is powered by a 500-watt motor that's located in the rear wheel here. So compared to most other city e-bikes, this one actually has power to take you up hills and basically anywhere you go. So I really like that about this one. With that being said, let's start by doing a bit of an unboxing just so I can show you what you have to do to get this ready and on the road. Alright, so the bike comes in a decent sized box. Now the bike itself is not crazy heavy, so the weight of this is just under 25 kilos. So compared to other e-bikes out there, this is not that heavy. You do have to do a bit of an installation when you take this out. You basically have to put a handlebar together. I also like the fact that the handlebar can be adjusted in height. Well, kind of. So you can have it lower or higher depending how you plan on riding. Personally, I like riding nice and straight, so I do have the handlebar so I can actually ride comfortable. So I really like that about this bike. You also have to put the front wheel together, the front light, the mudguard on the front, and the mudguard on the back is kind of half installed. Now, there was an issue when I got this out of the box. The screws that come in the box for the front mudguard didn't actually fit, or too short. So I had to go and find screws. So that was definitely not a great start for my bike experience. You even get a front suspension. Now the suspension doesn't have that much travel, a couple of inches, maybe a bit less than that. However, when you're going over bumps and stuff like that, it definitely helps. We also get road tires on the bike, and they do work really well on regular roads like this. I don't personally take this bike off-roading. It's definitely not designed for off-road. On the back here, we also have a rack. So if you have some baggage that you want to carry on the bike, you can definitely do that. On the back here, we also have a light that also acts as a brake light. So whenever you pull on the brake levers, that will light up. On the front here we have the headlight. Now the headlight, nothing special about it. It lights up the path ahead of you at night, but during the day you can barely see it. But overall I'm happy with the lights that we get on this bike. The bike itself looks great for a city e-bike, and the way it looks and the way it's designed, it almost doesn't look like an electric bike. So the battery pack is actually in the frame. Of course we have a somewhat thicker frame, but it really hides that battery, so it doesn't really look like an electric bike. The motor, as I mentioned earlier, is a 500-watt motor that's located in the rear wheel there. We have a 7-gear Shimano shifter, so wherever you are riding, if you are riding on a flat surface, if you are riding uphill, you basically have a lot of power to go anywhere. Alright, so we have a super quick hill climbing test. I'm on a fairly steep hill here. I'm in the first gear and the last level of assistance, which is called Turbo Plus. So I'm going to start by accelerating with the throttle, and then I'll keep pedaling so I can show you how it goes. So you don't actually have to put any effort into pedaling because that 500-watt motor definitely has a lot of power. So super easy riding uphill anywhere. The top speed for this bike is also 25 kilometers an hour. I'm not sure if you can unlock it to make it go faster. Personally, I've left it at 25 kilometers an hour. And there is also a throttle here. So if you don't want to pedal at all, you can just accelerate with the throttle. Now, this bike, even though it is fairly cheap, comes with hydraulic disc brakes. And the brakes on it do work really, really well. They don't squeak whenever you're riding. They don't make any noise. So really good brakes on this bike, once again taking in consideration that super affordable price. I was also happy to see that we get a brand name seat, and even though this doesn't look like the biggest and the most comfortable seat out there, it is in fact quite comfortable for longer rides, actually more comfortable than a lot of those seats that have a lot more padding. So I'm very happy with that seat as well. The pedals are made out of plastic, nothing really special about them, but they do work good, and they do grip your shoes whenever you're pedaling. And even though this is an entry-level system, it does work good, and I didn't actually have to adjust anything out of the box. So I'm happy with the shifting system that we get. A lot of these city e-bikes, most of them have 250 watt motors, and realistically you just don't have enough power with those. But with this one, the combination that we get, because the bike is fairly light, we have that gear system, so you can ride this bike pretty much anywhere and you do have plenty of power for pretty much any situation. The bike is also equipped to the speed sensor, so unlike one that has a torque sensor, it will basically give you power to whatever level of assistance you kind of have set on the display here. And that kind of brings us to the handlebar. So as I mentioned earlier, you can kind of adjust this lower or higher, so it makes your ride the most comfortable. It is a fairly wide handlebar. I do love it a lot. The grips here are made out of rubber. They don't seem to move at all. We have the brake levers right here. These are made out of metal and they do feel great. And as I mentioned earlier, the brakes on this bike are also great. And on the left hand side here, we have a small screen. Now, even though this is fairly small, realistically for an e-bike, that's more than you need. At times, you can't really see that screen that well, but overall, I would say that it works great for this type of e-bike. Alright, so let me quickly show you how you'd use this bike. It is super simple. So you have the power button right here. You hold this press for about 3 seconds or so. And then the screen comes on. From here you can change assistance levels. So we are in normal now, sport, turbo and turbo plus. So we'll just leave it in sport for now. So then you have a couple of options. You can accelerate to the throttle or you can start pedaling and the bike will start assisting you. So we're gonna start pedaling. So as soon as you start pedaling, the bike will start assisting you. So it is fairly quick for a speed sensor. But then if you don't wanna pedal, so we'll stop, you can just accelerate with the throttle. So kind of like this, and the bike just goes. That 500 watt motor does have plenty of power. Of course, you can also accelerate by pedaling, and then if you're tired of pedaling, you can just accelerate with the throttle. We'll do a bit of a brake test in just a second. So the top speed for this bike is of course 25 kilometers an hour. So we have about 23-ish right now, so we'll do a brake test. Now, if you pull on those levers harder, of course, you're going to be able to lock those wheels, but I don't really want to do that. So another brake test here, let's say, so 25 kilometers. So it does stop really well. And as I said, it is fairly quiet whenever you're riding it. So this easy and this comfortable riding this bike. So to quickly conclude this video, even though my experience with this bike didn't start that well because those screws for the front mudguard weren't actually matching those holes, after that everything did go quite well, and I was quite surprised to see how good this bike is for its price, because as I said, this is one of the most affordable e-bikes that I got to try up until now, and also one of the better ones that I got to try up until now. So if you need an e-bike to take while you're in town, maybe to go to work or something like that, you do get a really good bike. The battery pack, even though it's not the biggest battery pack out there, it doesn't have the largest capacity, will still give you about 40 kilometers no matter how you ride. Now, the manufacturer says that you can get up to 90, but maybe that's in the most perfect conditions if you're not heavy, if you're only riding on flat surfaces, if you're riding slowly and so on. But realistically, you're going to get about 40 kilometers no matter how you ride this bike. So I was quite impressed by how good the Fiido C11 is. Alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.